Rara's Adventure. A journey of courage and friendship. In a small village surrounded by rice fields and forests, lived a cheerful elementary school girl named Rara. Rara was always curious about the world around her. Every morning, she walked to school with her beloved red backpack. Inside the bag were books, pencils, and a diary that she wrote in every night. At school, Rara had many friends, one of whom was Booty. Booty was a smart and diligent boy, but a bit shy. They often sat next to each other in class, and Booty was always ready to help Rara when the lessons got tough. Their teacher, Mrs. Santee, often praised their friendship and hoped all students could help each other like Rara and Booty. One day, Mrs. Santee announced that the school would hold a short story writing competition. The theme was Adventure in the Village. Rara was thrilled because writing was her favorite hobby. She immediately imagined various adventures she could write about. However, she was also a bit nervous because she had never entered a writing competition before. After school, Rara sat at her desk, staring out the window. She saw the beautiful village scenery and was inspired. She began writing a story about a girl who discovered a treasure in the forest behind her house. Every word she wrote flowed naturally, as if the story had been in her mind all along. The next day, Rara showed her writing to Booty. Booty read it carefully and smiled. "This is a great story, Rara," he said enthusiastically. Rara felt relieved to hear praise from her best friend. However, she still felt her story wasn't perfect. She wanted to make it more exciting and thrilling. Rara then asked Mrs. Santee for feedback. Mrs. Santee was happy to read it and gave some suggestions. "Try adding some dialogue between the characters, and maybe you could extend the climax to make it more suspenseful," suggested Mrs. Santee. Rara nodded and felt even more excited to perfect her story. Over the next few days, Rara worked hard to improve her story. She added dialogues, extended the adventure scenes, and made sure every detail was perfect. She even asked Booty to help read the dialogues to make them sound more natural. Booty was happy to help, and they often laughed while reading the story together. Finally, the day of the competition arrived. All participants had to read their stories in front of the class. When it was Rara's turn, she felt very nervous. However, as she began reading, her nervousness slowly faded. She imagined herself as the character in her story and read each word with emotion. All her classmates, including Booty, listened attentively. After all the participants had finished reading their stories, Mrs. Santee announced the winner. Rara was very tense, her heart pounding. When her name was called as the winner, Rara could hardly believe it. She stood up with tears in her eyes and received the prize with deep gratitude. All her friends cheered, and Booty clapped the loudest. When Rara got home from school, she couldn't stop smiling. She was so proud of herself for overcoming her fears and winning the competition. At home, she showed her prize to her parents, who were also very proud of her. "You really are an amazing child, Rara," her father said as he lovingly patted her head. That night, before bed, Rara wrote in her diary. She wrote about how happy she was today, and how she learned that courage and hard work always pay off. She promised herself to keep writing and to enter more competitions in the future. The next day at school, Rara became an inspiration to her friends. Many came to her for writing tips. Rara was happy to share her experience and encourage them. For Rara, this experience was not just about winning the competition, but also about growing into a braver and more confident person. From that day on, Rara continued to write and develop her skills. She knew that in the future, she wanted to become a writer who could inspire others through her stories. And she always remembered that it all started in a small village, with a simple story about an adventure in the forest.